This really is a silly little activity, but it's kind of fun, and I know that it will help you understand our logic chapter, thinking about logical reasoning. So here's how this little game works. We're going to start with our given card, and we are going to try to make it all the way across the board to one of these three conclusions. So this is just a sample one to get you the idea of how to play the game. So how are we going to get from the start to the conclusion? What we're going to do is we're going to take these little postulate definition cards, whatever they are down here, they're just little rules, and see if we can make a logical connected path. And so which of these cards might connect to start? How about this one that says start leads to A? It's a postulate, it's a rule that says start leads to A. Now I have two different cards that I could go next because I have A leads to W and A leads to B. Both of those would be legal moves. But which one might get us a little further? Well, I don't see any other W's down here. So I'm going to leave that one aside and I'm going to connect this one. So now I've made it from start to A, from A to B, and now I need to get to a conclusion. Well, do you see how this one is a double-sided arrow? Double-sided arrows means that you can flip them around and go either way. It's a little tricky, so you're going to plant your finger in the center and you can rotate around. And so once it's rotated, we can have start. Start leads to A leads to B. B leads to C, and C is going to stand for our conclusion here, and I'm not sure which conclusion we would reach, but one of these would be our conclusion. That's the idea. I'm going to have you try this fish one. So we're going to start with Ralph is a fish, and we want to find out which of these statements is true. Does he have fins? Is he a trout, or is he wet? And these are your postulates and theorems that you can use to connect. Remember that these double-sided arrows, they're called biconditionals. They're two-way arrows, so you can flip that around if you need it. So here's what I came up with. Ralph is a fish, so then Ralph swims. Since Ralph swims, then he's in the water. Since he touches water, then he is wet. I can conclude that Ralph is wet. He might have fins, he might be a trout, but the only thing I can logically say following these rules is that Ralph is wet. Try another one. Here's how this one went for me. Jenny traveled to the mall, so she's at the mall. Since she's at the mall, she must buy an Orange Julius. Since she buys an Orange Julius, she gets a receipt. Since she gets a receipt, she brings the receipt home. My conclusion was Jenny brings a receipt home. And I thought that I might get a little further right here when I found out that Jenny was at the mall. I knew that if someone's at the mall, then she gets a pretzel. So I could also conclude that Jenny gets a pretzel, but that wasn't one of my options. I really kind of wanted her to get some cheese dip to go with her pretzel, but unless there was another connector that says if someone gets a pretzel, then they get cheese dip, I really can't connect those, so that conclusion didn't work out for me. I was only able to make one conclusion, and that was just kind of an extra that I didn't need in there. Again, a funny little activity, but it's the type of thinking that we're going to be using this chapter.